region. 1769 would see the first mission be established alongside California's first presidio, located in today's San Diego. More than another dozen missions would spring up in succession across Alta California as more and more Franciscans aimed to convert the local indigenous population to Christianity. The general effort to colonize the region, however, was poorly funded and supported as the Spanish North American holdings were slowly pushing the bounds of what the empire could handle. Conflict with the indigenous people. The Spanish relationship with the natives in Alta California was complicated, to say the very least. While the missionaries hoped to teach the indigenous people their Spanish culture and beliefs, they also attempted to take advantage of the natives and utilize them for free labor, while keeping them organized on small portions of the land that had once entirely belonged to the indigenous. In response to this sudden encroachment and missionary conquest, the natives organized several revolts, which made the already unapproachable land even less appealing to new colonists. Alta California was remote in contrast to other Spanish territories, and the lack of adequate funding left small numbers of friars and soldiers solely in charge of the settlement and missionary establishment. Nevertheless, the Spaniards were tenacious, and the following year saw the accidental discovery of San Francisco after the explorers failed to recognize Sebastián Vizcaíno's description of Monterey Bay and thus sailed on past it. Further expeditions did uncover more of Northern California as the missions continued to pop up, but life in Alta California failed to become easier. Shortages of crucial goods, including food, disease, and frequent violence with the natives, led to many close calls of abandoning the new province. Still, the colonists remained and were continuing to fill the maps with missions, presidios, and pueblos, many of which we know as cities today, like Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, Monterey, and Santa Cruz. It seemed that Spain had at least secured itself a functioning new province, until the Mexican War of Independence. California becomes Mexican territory. The 1821 war saw Mexico break free from Spain and Alta California tag, along with the neighboring lands. It was now a Mexican territory, not Spanish, and the mission culture began to shift in the direction of a ranching culture. There was also an uptick in trade, thanks to the new policies of the Mexican government, and immigrants from the neighboring American colonies, along with European migrants, began filling in the gaps of California's population left behind by the declining number of indigenous. The consequence of the latter fact, however, was the slow collapse of the missions, which relied on their population of converted natives to stay afloat. What remained of the missions was soon secularized by the Mexican government in the 1830s, and the original Alta California settlers were having to share land with a growing number of American migrants who would soon outnumber their predecessors to the region. The Bear Flag Revolt, the following decade, saw these new American Californians stage an uprising against the unstable and preoccupied Mexican government. The summer of 1846 would mark this so-called Bear Flag Revolt. The revolutionaries raised the now famous flag of their newly declared California Republic as they demanded ultimate independence. While the revolt broke out on June 14th, and found speedy success, by mid-July, the Bear Flaggers were informed that the United States, who had declared war on Mexico 2 months earlier, much to their surprise, had already captured Monterey and declared it American territory. The rebels now had two options: take up arms against another nation to maintain their newly founded independence, or accept American authority without a fight. Since the early goal of the Bear Flaggers had actually been to make California an American possession, the decision was quite an easy one. With the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo on February 2, 1848, the Mexican-American War came to an end, and California was made an official possession of the United States. 2 years later, California would become the 31st state of the United States of America. But before that, James W. Marshall found gold. The California Gold Rush. The famous California Gold Rush began at Sutter's Mill, nestled on the American River in Coloma, California, when Marshall discovered gold on January 24, 1848, while at his sawmill. The immediate reaction to the news brought in migrants from nearby and outside of America's borders, particularly Mexico, China, and Chile. But after the endorsement of the announcement by President James Polk, the era of the 49ers began. Prospectors from all around the U.S., Australia, Europe, and even Asia were flooding the state throughout 1849 and caused the population to triple. Businesses and mines were springing up around Northern California as gold became everyone's focus. It's believed that between 1850 and 1859 alone, somewhere around 28,280,711 ounces of gold were discovered. California's growth and challenges. With an additional 300,000 people now calling California home, the gold rush came to an end, and the state somehow managed to skate by as the American Civil War played out. By the middle of the 1960s, California's population had already earned itself the title of the nation's largest, a fact that still rings true today. Other significant events in the state's modern history included multiple hefty earthquakes, social justice movements that spread to the rest of the nation, a 1969 Native American occupation of Alcatraz Island, and so much more. California today. Today, California sits as one of America's most important states on multiple levels. Its geography, economy, culture, and history are vast and varied. What we remember of the state's past is often focused primarily on its role in the Wild West as the home of the gold rush, but its history is much deeper. California's time as a home to the indigenous, a Spanish colony, a Mexican province, an independent republic, and at long last as a U.S. state are all equally distinguished and necessary periods of the land's past. It is California's bustling history that made it the extraordinary place that it is today.